I was born in Arlington, Texas, and I lived there until I was 15. My dad was from Georgia, so when I was 15, we moved back to Georgia. When we came, we checked churches out. My mother picked the Smyrna Presbyterian Church, and that's where I met Pat.
Well, Jack and I were married in May of 1960, but then right before the wedding, he was drafted in the service. And I went to Germany as a dependent, and I lived with a family, and Jack lived with me for most of the time, and we were there a little over a year, and it was a challenge. At
the time, we were in the Cold War, after World War II, which Russia was had taken East Germany when the war ended, and the Allied forces had taken West Germany. So they divided it right down the middle of Germany, basically. My base was 13 miles from Czechoslovakia, and our guns were aimed at the Russian troops in Czechoslovakia, and their guns were aimed at us. And the reason was, in case something broke out, we would just annihilate each other immediately and give each country time to regain and figure out what the best mode of action would be.
Well, when I went to Germany, it was going to be my first apartment. I was so excited. And I would write Jack. You didn't call, you had to write letters. And I would ask him, what do I need to bring? What color is it? And he would just lie and tell me things that I didn't need. Little did I know he didn't even have an apartment till the week before I got there. And it was in a German home, and it was in the 3rd floor. We had to climb the steps. And then when you got up to the apartment, there was a teeny little room. There was a kitchen. And literally, I would have to come out for Jack to come in. And it was in an eave. And the sink was not large enough for a plate. And no refrigerator. We kept our food on the windowsill because it was so cold. And inside when we didn't want it to freeze. But in our bathroom, there was a commode. And it was in an eave. And literally, you backed into it from the outside to get in there. There was no sink, but there was no tub. So I asked, and they said, well, all the Germans will let you pay to take a bath. But my landlady said, no, Americans make my tub dirty. But, finally, within a week or so, I guess it was a month after we had lived there, my landlady came up one day and she said, it was on a Tuesday. She said, Saturday, that's when they took their bath. Pat can take a bath because I kept my house so clean. Well, I didn't have anything to do but clean that house. So I was like a little child sitting on the sofa waiting my turn, and I could hear the different family members taking the bath, and I knew I would be last. And so that was my treat. Every Saturday after that, I could take a bath. But we were very, very happy. We bought our food at the PX, but then we did a lot of shopping down in the stores. And Germans just had pretty things. We did a lot of walking. There were castles nearby. And, a little American girl had never been anywhere. This was really exciting.
When you first go to Germany, the first thing they do is you have courses you have to go to learn how to live on, with the Germans. The Germans have very strong beer. I spent 2 weeks on post learning how, first time I went to town, only drink 1 beer and then come home. Because if you drank 2, you probably wouldn't be able to get back to post. And the Germans are one of the neatest, cleanest people that you would ever know. But they swept their sidewalks every morning. Everybody swept their sidewalks and washed their sidewalks off. The economy was great. We lived in this small town. The name of the town was Schweinfurt, and that's where the ball bearing factory was for the entire German military. They bombed Schweinfurt until there was nothing but complete rubble, but they had rebuilt the entire town and everything but the ball bearing factory. And we went there, and they've left it as rubble to remind the Germans not to have a war again. It's one of the best and one of the worst times of my life. It's fun now because I only remember the good parts. Then it was cold, hard, just really hard work. But like I lived off post, which at the end of the day I could go home, live with Pat at night, and then the next morning I had to get up and go back to the post.
I was pregnant with Rand while I was in Germany, and he was supposed to be born in April. And they told Jack that if I stayed, because I had to go to the German doctor, that he would have to re-enlist. So I came home, which that was really hard. I came home in March, and Rand was born in April.
Pat came home in March to have the baby, and I came home. I came home on a troop ship, which I would not recommend to anyone. But I got home in June the 11th. Well, we found a little place to live, and I got a job. I went pretty straight to work, and then I applied for college, and that's when I went back to school. Every semester, when I would start back to school, we would wonder, there's no way I'm gonna have the money, there's no way we're gonna get in school, we don't have the money, and somehow, at the last minute, the money would always show up. And this is when Pat and I were raised as Christians. We went to church our whole life. We never really lived for Jesus, but God was always with us. And I know from when I look back at it, God knew every step that both of us took, and He guided us. We lived on godly principles, so to speak. And when we came home, we always managed. We got through every situation until I finished school and we moved to Moultrie.
When we came to Moultrie, we had always been in the Presbyterian Church, so we joined the First Presbyterian Church, and we just loved it. I always loved the people there. I loved the building. I loved the pastors. And I was active. I taught Sunday school and worked with the children. And the one thing about being in Moultrie at that time, there wasn't much to do, so on Friday and Saturday nights, we would all gather together in different houses, and we all sort of partied. And it was what we did. We were social people. When I got saved in 1980, it just sort of changed everything. We quit really partying, and it was funny because I told Wileen, I said, I said, what will we do about partying? I said, because we just really enjoyed it, and I love these people so much. And she said, you don't have to worry, you won't be invited anymore. And that was true. We sort of dropped off with our old crowd, and we picked up with the new one that God gave us.
I've seen people get saved. Pat got saved, and she came home. It was obvious that she was a different woman. And I'm sitting there, and you're supposed to be excited when someone gets saved. And I honestly almost wanted to slap her face, because all of our life since childhood, we'd gone to church. And she got us up every Sunday morning, go to church, go to Sunday school. She taught Sunday school. She'd been in the church her whole life. But she'd done everything except bother to be saved. Afterwards, she and Nan went to Bible study at Bill and Bonnie Edwards that Sylvia taught. And every Wednesday, they would ask me if I wanted to go. And I said, well, not today, maybe next time. And that went on and on and on. And one day, a package showed up on the end of the server in the dining room, real nice wrapped package. And I usually ask what it is, but that's where Pat put presents when she was get one. So I didn't say anything, and it sat there probably a couple of months. Every Wednesday night, Nan and Pat, Jack, you want to go to Bible study? No, I don't think so. God had told Pat when she was buying a Bible, she said, I want to buy Jack a Bible just like yours, a nice Bible, just like yours. And they came in one night, and I was feeling unusually smart alecky, I guess. And Pat said, I read back in my chair, and I said, well, if I had a nice, fine Bible just like yours, I would go. And of course, Nan and Pat broke out in a smile. I knew I was in trouble. So Nan goes, gets the package, unwraps it, and it's a Bible just like Pat's, engraved with my name, the whole 9 yards. I didn't say anything. I got up and went to Bible study, and that was my first really turning my life around and giving my heart to Jesus. That was when I started living for Jesus.
Well, after I got saved in 1980, it was within probably the next year that we left the main denominational church. But it was like something was missing, because I always went to church, like Jack said. And I didn't feel like I had a home. Something was missing. So we started visiting churches, and we went to nearly every church in town. Sometimes we would go for months, and sometimes we'd just visit once or twice. And that afternoon, Bill Edwards called, and he said that they were getting some people together to see about forming a church. Would we like to come? And so we went that night, and we've been going ever since. We went to Heritage the first Sunday, and it's been our church home since it was formed.
I loved Heritage from day one, but the music was too loud. It just really bothered me, because I was a traditionalist. I loved the hymns and all the music that the Presbyterian Church had, but I would be about half mad every Sunday because I thought the music was too loud. And then one day I realized that the church is made up of a lot more young people than older people, and that's where the music is today. And I can sit here in church and be mad because the music doesn't suit me, or I can be happy and enjoy the music. And the day I made that decision, it was like God flipped my switch. And there's probably no one in that church loves the music any better than I do now. I think we probably have some of the best musicians that I've ever been involved with in our church. I think we should be thankful for what we have for the complete church. Even the preacher, we can be proud of him too. I had to do that. When the church started the storehouse, Pat got involved in that, and we used to, after we retired, we had time in the morning. You could spend a little time together, have breakfast together. Now when I get up, Pat gets up anywhere from 2 o'clock in the morning on. When I get up, I go in the bathroom, and Pat has a note on the commode seat, and it says SH, standing for storehouse, 5:30, be back by 9, heart you. I've got a stack of those. It's just, she used to put on there that she loved me, then she hearted me. And now it's just storehouse, be back.
I see such value in the storehouse, not just in the clothes, but in the people we serve. And we have there's such a ministry going there, and the outreach daily, it's growing and growing and growing. I look on what we're going to do in our future. We don't know, but I know that God's going to be faithful. He's been faithful, and He's going to guide us. And I just see in everything we do the faithfulness of God. And then I praise Him, like for the storehouse, that He's given me a family, a whole different family. And we're also different. Some of us have more, some of us have less. But there seems to be no stature over there, because what we all have in common is God. And that's what I want for my future. I want to ask God to keep me healthy, that I'll be able to serve Him to the end.
If I left here today, I would be fine. I don't want to, because I want to see my granddaughter grown. I think she's a special person. And I don't want Pat, I don't know what she'd do without me. I've always known the Bible, I've known about Jesus, but I was just sort of your regular run-of-the-mill sinner most of my life. God doesn't want anyone to be lost. And I know for years I thought I was a Christian, and I went to church, I did everything I was supposed to do, and I was just a happy camper. But then one day it's like I knew I was not. So I knew all the time I wasn't where I needed to be, but I thought, well, I'll do that later. Well, I've been fortunate. I'm later. but everybody doesn't have that advantage. Some of us, you never know. When you get up in the morning, you don't know if you're going to go to bed in your bed at night or you're going to be at the undertaker's. I mean, literally, you do not know. I cannot tell you how important it is now to give your life to Jesus. It's the easiest thing you'll ever do. He is not a hard taskmaster. I could never imagine how much better it would be just being close to the Lord. Please consider making Jesus your Lord and Master now.